And good evening, everybody. I see that once again Streamlabs has decided to pop a big black box instead of the view account. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. That should do that. It's so nice how it does this. You stole Alex's line. That's not very nice. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Christopher. Welcome to the chat. How is everybody? We are, of course, here once again to look at the Brighton i3. Well now, Streamlabs. I see that text on the chat on the screen. I just want to point out I have not re-added the chat box to my Streamlabs display, so there is no reason for that to be there, but there we go. Streamlabs does indeed have a mind of its own. I am doing well, thank you, A1. So I've been celebrating being an old timer today round at my mum's with a barbecue, which has been nice. So, DCC chips, i3s, motors. These are the things of today. Shiny cogs. Bits of PCB, bits of wire, your birthday. Indeed, my birthday was Friday. There has been lots of cake, actually, not just some cake, but lots. I have just realised I have left my wires behind me. I should probably bring those somewhere over here. But yes, there has been a lot of cake. So my birthday itself was Friday, but I mean, A, it's much easier to organise get-togethers at the weekend, and B, we went to the zoo on Friday. Happy cake day. Thank you, James. Much appreciated. It was a very good cake day. So look, the roof's on again. Well, we're going to take it off now so that we don't drop it, because I'm about to pick the loco up, and I remembered to take the lid off this time. So for those that watched the update or the review will have noticed I did trial fit the conrods, and they do indeed sit on the wheels quite nicely, and the wheels do turn with them on. They don't turn all the way because the crank pins are still too big and hit the body, but that's a job for the future. For right now, we are going to unscrew the chassis, which really annoyingly, you put your brake rod in across the back here, and then it's in the way of the screw. So if I don't talk much, trying to find some SR rolling stock for Alex. By the way, happy birthday, old timer. Thank you, A1. But yeah, stop finding stuff for Alex, you know, he doesn't like you doing it. I don't know, you might not mind, but Alex does. Be a good A1. So how is everyone this evening? He just won't stop. No, I know, Alex, I know. How is everyone this evening? I hope we have had good weeks. Oh, timers are the best sort of timers. Well, much appreciated, because I'll be honest, I certainly am starting to feel old these days, even no matter how much everyone tells me I'm not. I am well, if not a little rained upon. Yeah, we only had rain this morning down here, which was quite nice. Usually I take a wander up to Tesco at about 11:30ish, and it was absolutely bucketing it down. Waited half an hour, and it's been absolutely blooming lovely all day since then. Hence being able to have a barbecue. So yes, there we go. The body starting to come to pieces. The body coming off the chassis starting to come to pieces. And everything getting stuck to the magnet on the motor. Gosh, Housen seems to have missed the downpour about 45 minutes ago. Yes, as I say, since this morning it's been wonderful here. So the motor is going to sit like so. Obviously we need to work out exactly how it's going to sit and get it in there properly, because at the moment it pushes the frames out. That's no good, they're going to contact the back of the wheels, and it has nothing at the back to support it. So both those things need addressing. But to do that we need to get an exact position on where it's going to go. So the cog is going to have to go onto the axle so we can find out where the motor will actually sit, which means taking the wheels off, which of course means taking the rods off. Of course, this is the good thing about using Romford wheels, is you can be repeatedly taking them off and on. This is not something you can do with Gibsons. Because they are friction fit on the axles, if you're taking them on and off and on and off, then the fit gets looser and looser and looser until they no longer stick on there properly. So when the time does come that we are building one of my kits that I have Romfords for, you'll notice that I won't be test fitting wheels quite so often. Friday today, it's bad over here over the week. I have no idea what we're expecting weather-wise through the week. Romfords really do go together very well. Yes, they do. Gibson wheels are exceedingly difficult. I've tried and failed with those. They are certainly the harder of the options. Sometimes, however, they are the only option for being correct. So, for example, I have a 3D printed Millwall Extension Railway Manning Wardle 240 tank lined up for some point in the future once I get a motor and gearbox for it. And you can't get Manning Wardle pattern wheels from Scale Link, so they have to be Gibsons. If only it were possible to simultaneously be correct and easy. Well, I mean, in the case of the i3, they are, which is nice. I do very much appreciate these nice, simple locos that have nice, simple wheels. Yes, my man in Wardle, I already have the Gibsons for it. Just no motor and gearbox. It is very, very small. So, you can see where I have already fitted bearings. Oh, did I mention the Great Boston Roffers luckily barely show below the frames of opacity, so I can just leave them on the wheels. Oh, that's excellent, Alex. That is good. I do like a good eye freeze. So do I, James. So do I. In fact, I like all Atlantics. They are... Atlantic engines are very elegant looking. It's a very nice wheel arrangement. So yes. Triang gear. If we look at it from this side, you can see the gap between the gear and the axle. So on the other side it has been fitted with a bearing just to bring the size down on the inside. It's a nice tight fit, but obviously not tight enough for actual use. It still spins on the axle. So it will need permanently sticking to the axle once everything is ready. Obviously the ideal thing to do that with would be some Loctite. That would hold it quite nicely. Of course now I'm struggling to get it to go back onto the axle. Well, it's on the axle, it's not moving down it. I suppose I could do that. There we go. That's too far. And this, of course, is the problem, is getting it in the right place. So there is our gear sat nicely in there. Gear, are you going to Loctite that on? Yes! That will be the final plan, but we will get everything done first, and actually Loctiting on the gear will be one of the last things to do. Atlantis do have an elegance, I quite agree. Yes, very, very elegant. I like the H2s too, as do I, and the H1s, both brilliant engines, the Great Northern Atlantics. By the way, it's other Southern engine you recommend after C-Class. And if you did recommend this one, the E4. All Southern engines. You should get all Southern engines, A1. They're brilliant. Right, I can now type with my keyboard. That's always good, Christopher. How are you doing this evening, sir? GNR, NER, LB&SCR, GWR had the Lancing, I believe. Not sure there are any Scottish or Irish ones. The LB&SCR had the Atlantic tanks, and MBR had them. Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't know a definitive list of Atlantic tanks, but I've certainly never seen one that doesn't look good. What engine might be recommended will depend on what you want to model. We're not talking about training someone's rather not ESR is the best place for Atlantics. Good evening, Harry. Welcome to the chat. How are you? I believe in the late 50s, early 60s, the Pennsylvania era was still using Atlantics on local runs. Yeah, but that's American. Ugh. There's a thread on our own web about somebody who's actually in the process of modelling all Southern engines. There is indeed Tony Teague. Very nice man. We have talked in the past. Because he plans on modelling all Southern engines at the end of the Southern. I eventually would like to model them all at the start of the Southern. Surprised for years. LTSCR also had Atlantic. I'm okay, thank you. They are quite handsome engines though. Yes, every single one of them is. Now that I'm caught up with chat, we shall place the motor into the frames, into where it locates correctly with the gear. Little stressed, but still here yourself. I'm doing okay, Harry. Family barbecue today to celebrate me being old. Computer's interesting. Different thing entirely. Yes, indeed it is, James. So we're just going to once again, we're going to put the chassis back in to make sure that where the motor is sitting is actually low enough, which it appears it is. So you can see in there the motor sitting. Might be worth getting it to sit a little bit lower, but that's helpful. So if we bring it down to there, without pulling this out, then you can see there's quite a large amount of the frame will need removing. That motor can't even really turn at the moment because of the frames being in the way. There we go, it's just about turning now. And you can see, if it focuses, that the gear underneath is turning with it, so we're making contact. And we are also just at a height at the back here where we can solder something across the back of the frames and be just the right height for where the screw goes through the motor. Whether we will use that as the way to fix it or not is another matter. But of course, as you look there is a lot of the motor that is covered by the frames. And if you look along the length of the frames, it does indeed bow out around the motor. So we are indeed going to need to take out a section of the frames, which is not a problem if you are a man of many pens. Drawing a line down along the front of the motor plate. Not to anywhere on the motor in particular, just down to on there. God, this pen is made of steel. There is some footage on YouTube. Track it down at some point and post the link. That'd be awesome, Christopher. A little stressed. Sorry if I wasn't what you're expecting. I can't remember what that was proof. In fact, I will be getting to see one in May next year. That's excellent, Christopher. I think my LTSR book's currently blushing from all these positive comments. Not as much as he said for computer simulation. Live along the old LTSR, interesting railway indeed. BRB, you've already told me, I apologise for having mentioned this, that's okay, more sports about. Spent some time adding LTSR locomotives and sort of sim trains a while ago. Awesome. It's worth a look. There are our steam, including the E6 Atlantics. It let you post a link. I realise you're a mod and have mod powers, but it let you post a link. So I'm now just marking the back of the motor as well, now that I'm caught up with chat again. So that's looking like there's quite a lot of material needing to come out there. Yeah, I'm surprised as well, Alex. But he's a mod, so... Smash the like button in celebration of the link working. Smash, gently press, give it a little love tap. And whilst you're there, looking at the like button, don't forget the subscribe button. Are both very, very important buttons. So yes, as I said, there's a lot of material to come out there. In fact, that was going down over the sandbox even. It sat a bit like that. Of course, steel ruler. Alright, let me see if this link works. So yes, you can see that line there is where the motor actually sits. Oh, I'm getting Streamlabs telling me I've got a poor connection. Let me see if the link works. Did it work? If you tried posting a link, no, A1. Because you see, you are not Christopher, the chosen one. I'm hoping we don't have to take too much out. Well, we do. We're going to look at how visible that's going to be. It's not going to change our mind on what motor we use, mind. But we are going to see how visible it's going to be. I'm hoping most of that is actually up behind the body. You see, a good chunk of that is behind the body. There is going to be some visible. But not too much. It should be okay still. Oh, people! Hola! Hello, Will Powell. Welcome. How are you, Will? Good to hear you. Hello, Oak Hill. First build session at home and on my old computer. Hello, Max. Welcome. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is good to have you here with us. I am going to take a quick hydration break. Your link worked, Alex. The one with sound. Awesome. Sound is always good. Speaking of sound, I have been looking into ways to improve the stream. I know, dangerous. But something I thought that I'm hoping you can all give your opinions on is perhaps some background music. Just like a little smooth jazz. Something like that. Just playing softly in the background as we work. What would people think to something like that? Oh, I was the one who sent you the photo of the 1850s coach kit. Ah, I see, Will. Fair enough, mod power working in it. Probably only the Holy One has chosen you out. That's fabulous. Working on the layout for autumn issue of the freelance magazine that I'm working for, and for home enjoyment. Awesome, Max. Generic diet fizzy black drink with a red label. No, it's not the. It's not the diet version. It is the sugar-free version. That's right, tinkering. That's my brain space. Gosh, no, please don't. It's much better without music. Jazz sounds good. I don't dislike music in general. Find it's distracting. What about some swing or classical, but very low? I'm not a fan, but I'll go with the consensus. Well, see, this is why I wanted to speak to everyone before doing it. It would, if I did it, be very, very low background music. If the consensus is that people wouldn't like that, then that's fine. Because, of course, it would be more for the sake of you than it would be for me. It certainly wouldn't be anything, you know, there'd be no words, it would just be some very soft... It would almost be elevator music, in fact, if it did happen. But no, if people would prefer it not to happen, then it will not happen. Tell you what, I almost feel bad making these cuts to this chassis. You could put on some Sabaton. No, I can't. I would have... Any music I use would have to be copyright free. In fact, I already know what music I would use if I did. Without getting a better grip, those aren't going to work. Has anyone made a scratch build /Oakhill Discord? Well, so far, Will, the only thing is I'm not against the idea of setting up a Discord server. If I could, but I can't picture it being used. But it's certainly not something I'm against doing. Again, that would be something that if it came from my viewers, that they would like a Discord server to talk on, then I would not be against doing it. This is rather thick brass. It may be a case of getting the saw blade out for this, because these can't get low enough to get to their sharp point. And those are a bit naff for this. I'd love the session on Friday. Let's do a little Discord, that would be nice. Discord for people to post their projects and such. Also keep a lot of the annoying stuff from RM Web. I won't post since I don't have models, LOL. Anyway. Well, see, there is going to be something going onto the website to let everyone post their models on. Let's get a gallery of viewers' models and such forth. I would like to do something for that. It's just a case of time recently, to be honest. But that is something. Right, we don't have a Discord in my world. What is it? Simple way. Discord, Harry. It's Skype, but it works. Is a good way of putting it. God, that sounds horrible. Now, see, some will say this would have been easier to do before everything was put together, and they'd be right. However, before we put it together, we wouldn't have been able to measure it up to get the correct positions for everything. I want to take this out before I break something. Should probably take these wheels off as well, just in case. Skype, but it works. That's actually quite accurate. And the thing is, I do have... Sorry, I'm saying LOL too much, aren't I? No, you're not. A1. I say LOL quite a lot in text chats. No such thing as too much. In fact, there's times when I'll say it in every message of a conversation, so don't worry about that. Alex can confirm this. But yeah, I mean, I do personally have Discord. And would not be opposed to setting something up for the community. But if we are thinking of something for posting work that we're doing, that's something I plan on doing with the website. Stop apologizing. Yeah, that too, what Alex said. You don't need to apologise constantly. We're getting there. Sorry, it's your friendly Puerto Rican Canadian. I'll tell you what, A1, the amount you say sorry does make me tempted to do my 7mm A4 as Dominion of Canada. Just for you. Although I won't be, because I've already got the transfers and etched plates and stuff from Mallard, so... It is getting there. Slowly. Do it. No. No, I won't. See, it's times like this I imagine some background music, just something very low and stuff in the background would benefit. This is the sort of time I was thinking of. Who doesn't love an A4 with a bell on it? Also, Dominion of Canada is my favourite A4, so yeah. I'm not surprised Dominion of Canada is your favourite A4. A1. Appreciation for the logo though. Yeah, like I said, I've already got the etched plates and transfers and everything for Mallard. Garter blue post preservation. With skirts. I've even got the little plaque on the side about its speed record. I should move this away because of how powerful the magnet is. I know it's brass, but if anything comes off the blade, this is steel. I still prefer it this way, fair enough. So random idea, Mallard in BR Ultramarine. No. So when it finally gets done, it will be in garter blue. I prefer background modelling to background music. Well, see, this is why I waited to come and talk to you guys first before going ahead and doing it. This is going to take a while having to use these. Couple of bits of brass stuck in there, clogging the teeth up. There really is nothing else up here that's going to work if I can't get to the sharp point on my scissors and those snips won't go through. Which is quite irritating. Because of course I had planned on the scissors being able to just go snip and snip when I was sorting this earlier. Oh. And if I lift that off so it's not actually touching the table, you might not get so much wobble. Maybe you won't get seasick. Best laid plans and all that. Exactly, Alex. So has anyone got any projects on the go this evening? Because I'm stubborn, I'm going to try the scissors again. They won't work, but I'm going to try them again. Oh, look at that, we're getting through. See how much easier that is? Try playing classical music in the background very quietly. I can see why James is so against the idea. Fair enough, Harry. I'll be again. Yes, fitting RJ12 cables and circuit cards under my layout. Never been a fan of fitting lots of cables. Might finish the smoke box door. Good evening, Killian. How are you today? I assume you have been lurking. Found that I need more 30cm RJ12 cables. Never good when you need to get more. Stuff is happening. Yes, stuff is happening. Building the line to the future dock on Minecraft. Nice. I approve of stuff happening. As do I. But that is why, you know, that's what I planned on being able to do. It's just slicing straight through like that. Let's try and not hit the camera. I haven't actually been scanning drawings for a minute. I haven't actually been lurking, that is. Oh, fair enough. Do you have a vice you can use? I do have a vice I can use. My vice comes out relatively frequently. But in this case, I'm just not sure there's somewhere I could grip it with properly on the vice. Hydration is still important, children. Still, scanning drawings, I do plenty of that myself. Like I've rubbed off all the lines on this side now, I'll never know where I'm cutting. I'll never get low enough on that side. What did I do with that pen? There it is. Cool. Not easy to get this lined up. Let's just take it off camera where I can actually look down on it properly. What you missed there was me drawing a line. A line that I'm not convinced lines up. I think we want to be at a flatter angle than that. So that gives us something much more thoroughly cut out. And much more along the lines of of how quickly I expected to cut it out. Gosh, that's a lot of metal coming off. What motor would one be able to use without so much metal removal? My go-tos used to be Mishimas, but they're a lot harder to get hold of now. But, I mean, anything with a separate gearbox, because you could have the gearbox coming up and then the motor going off across above the frames, which really would be the ideal thing to do. This kit specifically isn't designed for motors like that, but it's obviously also not quite designed for an XO4 either. I mean, there's mention in the instructions of the Southeastern Finecast motorisation kit. I don't know if that is still a thing. It may well be, in which case there wouldn't be nearly as much metal. Well, I assume there wouldn't be any metal coming off. Has anyone ever tried using modern Hornby motors supplied as spares? I imagine they would probably work. It's just a case of the motor mounts, because the thing is, even with that much metal coming off, most of it is above the frames, and you actually can't see that I've taken off huge chunks of metal. Sorry you asked about projects tonight. I did. I'm working on my new Space Marines still. Fair enough. Fair enough. I put it back in here, didn't I, in case we lost some metal off the... So you can see now, actually fits and turns. Still very slightly too high, so there we do need to lose that bit more at the front. I believe we are now sitting very close to where we want to be. Just need to make this hole a bit wider, which they can't get in to do, but this being a thinner part of the brass, these maybe can. There we go. And there is the bit of metal gone. So now that that's all out, we're going to put the axle and gear back in. And then once we are happy, we will look at fitting some more bits of brass back in to make an actual mount for the motor. Dark engine, oh cool. I approve of fitting and turning. Indeed, James, indeed. Right then, I have returneth. Welcome back, A1. Welcome back. You join us with a chassis that has much less parts than when you left. It would be so nice if this could just go on. Obviously, I know I want, there we go, the gear to be tight. But it'd be nice if it would slide on for me. So there we go, gear back in the middle. And the motor does indeed appear to sit quite nicely. It now turns nice and freely, and the gear turns with it. I have a hole punch, let's not get big-headed. If anyone knows that reference without Google, bonus nerd points. I don't believe I know that reference. I think we ideally need to lose this chunk behind the sandbox here as well. Again, sorry if I don't talk much. Changing the sound of some engines, DT3 because I'm too much of a broke boy and can't afford the VW large prairies. Fair enough. But yes, I do believe we're going to have to lose just a little bit more material there. Was that from the program about computer B 3 years ago? No. Just got the plaster cloth done. I'll show a photo on Twitter soon. The IT crowd was awesome. The IT crowd was a great show. Shame about the creator, because he's not a very nice man, to put it mildly. Very mildly, in fact. Oh dear, what did he do? He's a very bigoted homophobe, transphobe, xenophobe. And some of the stuff he actually says is very, very nasty stuff. Won 2 009 Loco kits on Fleabay. Excellent, Killian. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What do you call this when you put something old in something new? It's not retrofitting because it's the opposite. Yeah. Very true. Awful man. He did create amazing shows. Yes, he did. Father Ted, one of the best comedies made. Yes, it is. Oh dear, that's not nice. No, it's not. Love Father Ted so much, haven't seen it in a while. Dad's Army is my poison, personally. You know what, Killian, when I was making Remembrance, the whole time I was actually working on it, I had Dad's Army playing. Seemed appropriate. So yes, I think we are there with that little bit of extra material removed. So what we're going to do now is take these sprues of parts and use these to make some brackets up. Or what we're going to do is lose the tools that we want. Dad's Army rules. Yes, yes it does. Don't put your tools near the motor. So the first thing I'm doing is cutting a bit of spare sprue. And I'm going to bend it up so that it can be soldered to the inside of the frames there for the back of the motor to sit on. Sitcom made in the 70s, set during the Second World War. Yes, and brilliant it was too. Amazingly accurate as well. Some of the stuff they did that you'd think, no, that would have never happened, actually did. Such as, for example, going back to Series 1, there were Home Guard units that robbed museums of their weapons. So that should sit about there. But we take nothing for granted. Widely regarded one of the best comedies ever made, many of the cast were veterans. One of them was a veteran of the First World War who served with the Home Guard in the Second. And as a result of that, also acted as a bit of a ad hoc consultant for the show as well. So that now lines up. I'm going to use these because they're not metal. So you can see that the motor is now sitting across that. Arnold Ridley, of course, wrote The Ghost Train. Did he? That I did not know. There was a performance of The Ghost Train done in Hailsham recently. So we are an hour in, we're finally starting to add bits towards motorisation. Of course, the most awkward bit here is the fact that I do not want this to move at all. Right, and the iron is up to temperature. Yeah. Don't understand why Dad's Army was so popular. When I tried watching it, I wasn't very amused. Maybe it's because I'm not a fan of war. That could be why. Well, that Ghost Train must have overheard. not being a fan of war is probably why you didn't enjoy it, Harry. Although I can't say I'm a big fan of actual war. He was a bayonet man in trench raiding bomb grenade squad in First World War. Bear that in mind when you watch him gently bayonet a sack of straw. Indeed. Bill Pertwee went on to be in Fred's... it's not exactly about the war, it's the home front. And no one should be a fan of war. But why do we model it? Yes. I would say that, war is bad. I'd never want to go to war. Because, I'm not a fan of war. Ah, that's from there. Okay. Of course, I've just... Yeah. I know what I've done wrong there. That's gonna happen this side, I would imagine. But yes, if I said all those things about war is bad, I would never want to go to war, etc., it would kind of run in contrary to some things that some people in this stream know about me. Some of my life choices. But war is bad. And I would hope to never actually have to go to war. There we go. No one should be a fan of war at the moment. Can't go wrong with the Pertwee dynasty. Nope, indeed, Killian. Not great. So recording him actually talking about seeing tanks for the first time as well. Oh, that would be good. Okay, so started to think had a metal issue. Don't mind modelling war, but don't want to go to war. War is debatable until you show me a railgun. So now we're just going to test this. Again. Yes, that sits in okay. Doesn't want to turn because the cog's not quite central. But it is in there and does sit nicely. Of course, we now have the problem that I've heated all this up. It's made the low melt solder that was holding these on also melt. So we're going to turn the iron back down. Well, Harry, Alex could show you a railgun. Whilst we wait for the iron to cool down again, I will remind everyone that hydration is indeed very important. So please do make sure you are drinking enough. And if needed, refilling your drinks to make sure you still have plenty. Got done drinking a Gatorade. Excellent, good to hear we are hydrating. That is always good. The iron is nearly cooled down enough now. And that's the noise of me punching the microphone as I reach over for tools. Railgun, me. No evidence that ever surfaced of any kind of mole army. Yes, Alex. And that should be that one reattached. Yes. Excellent. I really must get round to shortening the boom on the front of this camera so that I can move things round it easier. There we go. Hold it upright. No, don't fall over. And there we go, it's on. So that is those reattached. I'm not as happy with how this one is attached, but it is good enough. The motor sits in and has its first bracket. I do know words. I can English. Lines in place, dead straight to the dock site. Almost like I planned it. Almost. But Alex, I know for a fact you'd never do something like planning. Way too advanced for you, that, isn't it? Right, we have a bit of loose wire hanging around on the inside here where I have broke it, so let's take that off. There we go, gone. It's not like we need those wires between the brake shoes anyway, the brake hangers even. Woo for chassis progress. Yes, indeed. Chassis progress. So the next thing we need to do is a way of making it stay down. I actually have the original screw from it there. Of course, the easiest thing to do would be to use said screw I resemble that remark. Attach a bit of brass or some such to the back there, just off the back of this bit, and have it poke through a hole of the right size. Now, whether that is feasible or not is a completely different matter, because of course that requires having a bit of brass with a hole the right size. If I had a spare screw and nut, we would be using that, but I'm feeling adventurous. So I have here an EM gauge frame spacer. That's never getting used. So we're going to take that, we're going to find an appropriate size drill bit, oh, this looks to be one, and it's already fitted to the drill. Yes. So when I'm lining that up there, I can see the threads either side of the drill bit. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that to focus. So I'm going to put this down on the actual wooden section of the workbench. And there we go, we're through. And the workbench has a new hole. Right, so it is actually still very, very slightly smaller than it wants to be. Maybe we do want this slightly bigger one. The good news here, of course, is if we do mess this up, I've got another one. God, this is not going to be good for this pin chuck. I really do need a new one though, so it's not the end of the world. I thought that glass was going to be enough to weigh it down there. Obviously not. I'm just going to pinch up pins. It's alright, Alex, I'm okay at tongue twisters. Right, that's a start, it goes in. The question is, can we get it to thread itself? So I've just placed it here with the screw sat in a hole. And if we can indeed get it to thread itself, then we have made a plate that we can use to attach the motor. As I say, this is not necessarily the right way of doing this, but when has that ever stopped me? The problem, of course, is I don't know how deep this hole goes. Plenty deep enough. The annoying thing here is it's almost doing it. If it works, who cares about the right way? Exactly. Exactly, Alex. No, it looks like it's stripping the screw a little bit still. So the hole does indeed need to still be a little bit wider. I guess you're building a table. No, I'm drilling a hole. Although I did build this workbench, so... There we go. Screws right in. Oh, don't be like that, Mr. Focus. You just have to take my word on it that it has its threads. if it's not going to focus. They are there. So let's go back up near this slot somewhere. Oh yes, I need to cut this down to fit round that screw, don't I? And that bolt even. That's going to be about there by the time it's spun round. Well, of course, now it's screwed on, isn't it? Now, see, this is the problem with working with these motors once they're refurbished, is all the magnet. The magnet is extremely powerful now. No, they still won't do it. Scissors, on the other hand, they're fine. Yeah, that's fine now. So then we want to get the motor in place. Don't put in your tools, utensils or small children with braces. Well, there are no small children with braces here. So in that regard at least, we're okay. Soldering iron is hot again. And we're just going to get a quick tack on there. So that it won't move. And then we can remove the motor and solder it on properly. Of course, then we'll melt the tacks and it'll move, and that'll be really helpful. And now we'll find out how good I am at putting things back correctly. I mean, I don't want to brag, but quite good would be the answer. With the cog located centrally, it turns that way, and it turns that way, and that motor is held in. Now the next thing to do for an X04 is to make sure it's not going to lift up at the front. So for those that don't know, just on the front here is two sections that stick out. So we can put a bit of brass across the top of there that will go in behind the frames and be soldered in. Doesn't need to be a big bit, and it'll just hold down the motor. So in this case we're going to take the other frame spacer for EM gauge, because again, EM spacers will never get used here. We're going to bend the spacer in its designed place. This looks like very hard work. Well, I mean, other than cutting the brass to start with, it's not too bad. As I was hoping that would bend easier and I could avoid having to cut it with the scissors, because cutting brass with scissors can give you some pretty terrible curling, and I wanted to avoid that, but it wasn't going. But no, it's not, as far as hard work goes, this isn't too bad. Just time consuming. Of course, the thing is, we are, of course, modifying a chassis to take a motor that it wasn't necessarily designed for, when there is actually a motorisation kit available for said chassis. So, in some ways, I'm making it hard on myself. And certainly any hard work involved is not because of the kit. There we go. What I should have done there, of course, was use the ceramics. Steel screws in them, of course. Well done. Thank you, Christopher. Right, so my idea for sliding tack is not going to work. It's actually slightly too long as well. Of course, we can't use them to do it, can we? So what we'll do, hold that in place, get the pen, and just draw a line on the brass where we want it to be. We'll get this one on and then worry about the other one, because I will rub the markings off whilst putting this on, I'm sure. God. The magnet is pulling the screwdriver out of the screw as I was trying to do it there. So we just want that slid in there and soldered on. Still isn't cooperating, and all I'm trying to do at this stage is get it lined up. There we go. So now that we know that's lined up, of course it would move when we put the solder on it. It couldn't possibly go well, could it? Right, so that is now lined up and held in place. Wow, the noise was something I made. I thought the creeper was blowing up behind me. That was the noise of the flux as it boils away. I can totally hear creeper in that now that you've said it though. So there we go. Let's pop the screw out for a minute. This should now be able to slide in, and from this side at least the motor now can't lift up. Now there's going to be a problem doing this with the other side, because of course the other side we're actually down in a hole. So the question is, will one side be enough? There it is. I thought I'd lost the screw there. No, of course it won't be. There is still a bit too much movement there, which we really do want to avoid. But first, hydration. Painting the tunnel, next will be turf application. Excellent, Max. Glad it is going well. How is everyone else's projects going? Oh good, my phone's just popped up to tell me that I've had it on for 2 hours continuously and should turn it off, and in its words, go and see the real world. Not even kidding, this is a new thing my phone has started doing. It's quite irritating. I mean, what would I want to see the real world for? So now, with the motor in place, we can make sure everything still fits. Which it very much appears to do so. I've run out of the right sort of wire, so I'm back to lining my P-class. Well, that's a shame that you've run out of wire, but at least you have other projects to work on. Because, of course, other projects are always good. So the next thing we need to do is to build up some pickups. I'm going to lose all the parts here. So we want to make sure we get them all back in here before we lose them. Doesn't look like any went off over that way. They did all kind of stay where I wanted them, which is nice. Has to go well occasionally. Don't recommend the real world. No, exactly, James. Who needs the real world? May have been ransacking another village, but he can't be proven in a court of law. Maybe it's an update. Very odd though. What are the wheels? Romford or Gibson? They are Romfords, Max. Yes, I assume it is an update on my phone that's made it decide to do that. Doesn't mean I want it to do that though. Imagine how this phone will feel when I actually get round to ordering my new one and this turns into just a camera that will always be used for more than 4 hours. 2 hours even. So you can see there, they happen to be exactly the right width for 00 on that PCB. And there's one here that's the right width for EM. Amazing that, isn't it? There we go. Oh dear, this side wasn't soldered in properly. So now I'm going to refit the drivers so that we can work out how we want to do the pickups on this. Will you ever do a face reveal? Sorry, had to ask. My face has appeared on camera before, Max. So yes, you have actually seen a face reveal before. Not something I have ever done intentionally, mind. Yet, but yes, there is a video planned that will actually feature the camera purposely pointing at me. Not that you'll ever want to see it, I'm going to be honest, it's not going to be a pretty sight for anyone. I'm going to take the cog off for now as well, so we can just work with the wheels as we want them. Your face is perfectly serviceable. Well, it does the job. It has all the right holes in it that it needs and stuff, but other than that... Now I've misplaced my mini screwdriver that I do these last little bits with when I'm not doing them up properly. Never mind. It'll turn up. God, I've really bent that out of shape there. So much so, I don't think I could, although thinking about it, I don't think I could do this with the wheels any. No, I couldn't. Well, I will look forward to that vid. Well, it's waiting on someone else at the moment. So I'll show you that momentarily. Awkwardly, that's appearing on one device but not another. That's popped up on my phone, but my laptop has also apparently crashed out. And I can't use text chat. Excellent. There we go, it's back. Right, okay, so at the moment we are going okay. So now that we're back, all that you've missed is me putting the wheels on in the time it took me to notice that the connection had dropped. So I say it is a connection issue. We appear to be losing all our viewers from it. Thanks, connection. Hopefully people will come back and it is just the connection causing us to not have so many the poor connection noticing, or not noticing. 4, that's an improvement on where it was a second ago. So yes, the connection dropped out. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's an outside fault. Even connecting to next door's Wi-Fi won't bring us much joy, as it's a fault at the BT cabinet rather than with my line. I'm still here. Thank you, James. There's actually been a couple of moments tonight where I've noticed my phone popping up telling me the connection is poor, but there is not, as I say, because of it being a issue at the BT box, there is not a lot I can do about it at the moment. Because you see, BT, in their wisdom, ran us some new cables a couple of years ago, and they didn't properly shield them. So when it rains, the water gets into the cables and causes us all sorts of problems. And it affects the neighbour's house as well as mine. Don't think people left. I think it all went odd. Yes, I imagine that's what it is. My phone is now saying 6, although, yeah, there we go. It's updated to 6 now. So I'm hoping that's all it was. So yes, now we need to work on how we are going to do the pickups. And obviously it's times like this when not having the brake gear would have been slightly beneficial. Because at the moment the brake gear is in the way. Now we have the plate to put the pickups on. We have the sprung wire to make the pickups out of. But actually making them is quite another thing. There are several ways you can do pickups. You can do wipers over the top like that. That is a valid method and keeps them completely hidden and in fact lowers friction. You can do wipers onto the back at the top. Again, perfectly valid. In our case, not going to work because of the motor sitting there. You know, once that's in, then it's in the way of doing either of those methods because there's nothing to connect them to. So we have to work from underneath, which means wipers onto the backs of the wheels. However, there is not a huge area for connecting these things because obviously we're working around a brass chassis. That wheel's on well, isn't it? So we need to clear the chassis, we need to clear the brake gear without touching any of it. As I say, this is the perfect width to sit down in the gap there. But even there, across the spacer in the middle, wheel looks fine. The spacer across the middle of the brakes is in the way as well. But even if the brake gear wasn't there, there's the springs modelled behind the wheels. So we need to get out above the chassis, below the brake gear, and onto the back of the wheels on the inside here. Oh, my laptop's suffering again there with chat. Hopefully, I mean, this is still saying we're passing everything through okay, so... But yes, you can see the back of the wheel there, and the back of the wheel there. So that is where we want to aim for. Shaping the wire to get out there. Obviously that's quite a big bend in the wire. I actually feel like I'm teaching people things. It's nice that. It's quite a big bend in the wire to get out and join the back of the wheels on the inside. It'd be much better to join them to the outside of the wheels, but that's not going to be possible. Just, well, probably would if you were better than me, but I'm the sort of person that throws springy wire around and can't pick it back up. There we go, got it. I mean, it might be possible to get that in. Of course, what you do for shaping the wire, I've lost connected chat a few times during my streams past couple of weeks, could be a Streamlabs issue. No, because my laptop's connected direct into YouTube. So it's not Streamlabs. Because we're soldering the wire onto here. So we can solder it into the shape we want it to be. And I do think getting it out like that may actually, to the outside of the wheels, is going to be easier. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's not Streamlabs in this case. YouTube has a little section for hosting streams where you can see all this info. It's one of the things it does well. I don't know why I went in above that bit, I should have gone in below that bit. So there is how we want to bend the wire. Thanks, focus. There we go. And along and across onto the back of the wheels. And I say that can be achieved by soldering it onto the pickup board slightly bent. So if we get that down in there, actually wanted you to go under the wire, but there we go, never mind, eh? Take the wire back out and put it in again. Take our wire again. In fact, before we thread it through, we're gonna bend the ends so that they go out, or this end anyway. It's going to go out and around and back in on itself. Let me grab the other set of pliers. And that way it will be rubbing the smoother surface of this bend onto the wheel. As you see, we bent this here, so the back of this bend will be rubbing onto the wheel rather than the point, which means we won't be scratching the wheel itself. Because of course you scratch the wheel, you cause pickup problems. And if your pickups are causing pickup problems, then you've got some problems. So that will be connecting just like that. And then we'll have the same on the other side. If I just snip that wire down now to be the right length. And then I can do a similar bend in this. Now at the moment this one's not quite gone as well and isn't as smooth a bend. Am I the only one experiencing technical problems? No, no you are not, Harry. We have had a few technical issues, and of course it depends on how far behind in the stream you are. The stream is fine at the moment. Good. Hydration, everyone, it's very important. So now that we've done that, we can test this again to make sure everything's okay. And that I have in fact put that second bend where I wanted it. I think I have. The way to really test that now is of course to bend the wire a bit and solder it on. It is, and I need to go get another drink. You should definitely be getting another drink. That is always a good thing to do. Now if I have cut this too short, which it looks okay to me, but if I have cut it too short, I've got plenty of spare. I'm just going to put a bit of flux on the copper. Now the important thing when soldering this is not to bridge the gaps. Come back, focus. So you can see we've got the copper is gapped, and that's going to allow us to keep the pickups isolated from each other, provided we don't bridge those gaps. So you can see from doing that, more measuring should have been done really, but I'm experimenting with getting the distances right and holding it in place. You can see we've got a slightly bent wire, held in its slightly bent position by the solder in the middle, with the loops on the end for touching onto the back of the wheels. And this is where we can see that in fact I have cut it millimetres too short, which most people think, oh well, that's not much. Of course, in model railways that is quite a lot. So you can see that it's not meeting up with that back of that wheel, and it's only just meeting up with the back of that wheel. So we do indeed need to make it slightly longer than that, but that's not a problem. As I say, we have plenty of it. We are not worried in the slightest about things like that. That looks better. These snips aren't even cutting this wire now. That's how bad these have got. There we go. So now we want to take the old one out. Get the new one in position. We actually want to put more of a bend into this than we did the last one. So because it's springy, we want to be bending it further than we actually want it bent. Because it will ping back. In fact, like there, it's pinged back to almost straight. And that slipped off before the solders had a chance to completely solidify. Always fun. Never mind. So that allows us to try again. And discover that actually this time we're slightly too long. We are on that back wheel. We are just in front of the front one. But that is a much easier problem to solve. Cut that end off because it was preventing me getting in properly with these to bend it round and make the loop nice and smooth. It's not gone particularly smooth now, but it's better than it was. And so now we are on the wheel at the back and we are on the wheel at the front. So all we have to do now is mirror that on the opposite side of the pickup board. Now that we know how big we want our pickups to be. There's the wire. I thought I'd lost that there, that would have been bad. So we do the same, we're just making the loop in the end. And we want to do in the same position on this side. There we go. the bend in, fold it round and snip. And now in fact we need to get some solder on here first, don't we? So I say this is where it becomes a bit trickier. We just want to make sure we do not bridge that gap. As long as we don't do that, we shall be fine. So you can see that gap is still intact. That's the short one, isn't it? Yep. Should really have got rid of that. And there we go, we should now be able to get pickup off all 4 drivers. Although looking at it, I think I need to push this one along a bit. Much easier. Is that the firebox LED? No, this is the pickups. You know what, before we do that, let's double check, because I may have actually got it in the right position. There is currently no firebox LED. There's no guarantees this will be a loco that gets one. But any locos that do get them, they will go via the DCC chip as a function. Okay, it looks like they are okay in positions. But what I have done is I've made the loops very, very slightly too big, so they are touching the chassis. That is not something we want. Pickup arrangement looks confusing. All it is some bent wire. Nothing confusing about it. At this stage, that's wonderful. What's next? Great. What's next, once this is done, will be to connect the wires to the pickups, the other end of the wires to the DCC chip. And then from the DCC chip we shall connect the wires to the motor. And from there we'll have a working engine. Right, so those should now be bent into a better position. Got the general most glued together. Next step is to strip it, then paint it. You know what I'm modelling from Alex Miles' stream last Friday or the 16th? Indeed I do. Gosh, the amount of effort that this takes does make the idea of commissioning somebody to build kits rather appealing. Well, in that case, James, there is a commissions page on my website, so, you know, if you ever want to commission stuff to be done. So the pickups are now in the right places. They just need bending back out a bit, because apparently I've bent them slightly inwards when I was, either when I've been doing this to get them in and out, or when I've been correcting the shape. Of course, being springy, what you want is to have them pressed further out against the wheels, and for the wheels to be pushing them in. And that's what gives you your nice contact. Of course, the problem is getting them in around everything. Once they are sufficiently sprung. So there we go, if that wheel was on properly, they would all be pressing into the back of the wheels. We have our pickups. I don't think it's even on the end of the axle properly, to be honest, at this stage. The amount of moving about it's doing. But there we go, pickups. So something I will do now that the pickups are in, is I will put some insulation around the parts of the chassis where the pickups come out, just to really make sure there is going to be no short circuits around those areas. So I shall get the spider's nest back out for now. Got the 3F back from the other place I've been working on it. The layout's 85% done, just need to buy some more turf, add the water effects, and last, the trees and a road. Excellent, Max. Excellent. So there we go, that's them out. There it is. Thought I'd lost that one there. That wouldn't have been good. So there we go. I'm going to remind us probably for the last time this evening, as it is now 20 to 12, that hydration is extremely important. We should most definitely be making sure we have plenty to drink. So, there's a pointer. The springs are coming along the back and they're coming round these sections here. I know you can see that well enough, let's try and get it to focus. There we go, so they're coming around here, which as you can see is the section holding up the loco spring. So what we want to do is make sure that all around the back of these is insulated. And honestly, because we're only doing the back, there is nothing wrong with just using a bit of insulation tape, to be honest. We're not going to do that at this stage because, you know, paint. You could use heat shrink. You could use any number of things just to make sure it is insulated. You do not want the pickup touching the chassis. That is when we start getting short circuits. And if we get short circuits, then we're not going to get very far with making a working loco. We might as well just be making static models and not doing any of this building of pickups. that is not a job we're going to tackle this evening, just because of how late the time is getting. So I say, I'm sure you can all understand why I didn't want to jump into motorisation last week now. What we do want to do at some point is get pickups on the front bogie, which will mean cutting down this one slightly. Proof of not having short circuits, long circuits have much to recommend them. So I'm going to bring the vice over. Slide myself backwards so I can use the vice. And so I am just going to cut this down using the insulation gap as a guide for where to cut. And the way we will be putting this one in, it's not quite as straightforward because we will need it. Now, if it goes down there and sits inside, we're never going to get out to the wheels. So this actually needs to be able to sit up like this. Maybe even slightly proud, just to make really sure. But it also needs, you know, if we stick it there like that, it will also need this hole in it, or a hole in it, so that we can get the nut onto the screw. So this leaves us with a couple of options. Option one is the obvious, we don't bother. Not really a fan of that one myself. Option two is we mount it either forwards or backwards of the hole. Again, I'm not sure that's ideal. What we could do, however, is split it in half. Have a bit at the front, a bit at the back. And then they could sit on this raised section, which would mean the pickups could run straight out by it. That would be ideal. But I'm thinking what we actually need to do is to have separate front and rear pickups. so that we're not running over the gap in the middle at all. So I probably shouldn't have moved the vise. That was obviously not the wisest of moves. Oh no, we've bent the brake gear. In fact, this brake gear is appalling. We should probably fix that at some point. That may be the easier job for our last 15 minutes. Because if we look at there, the brake gear is... I mean, it doesn't line up with itself. It barely lines up with the wheels. Especially that one bottom left. We should really do something about that. So I think we might do that now. That looks a lot better. Look at how much is now sticking out on the end of there that we've taken off. Who needs brakes? Yes, Christopher. Brakes do actually tend to help. I mean, I'm not convinced these brakes tend to help, but... yes, that looks much better. Get the cable round you. So see, they're sitting much more in line with the wheels. Are these ones any better for cutting things? So that fixes that, which is something that's actually been bugging me for a while, those brakes. I just kept forgetting to fix them. So that is another jobbed, and is a very good one to have done, I think, personally. The time now, it is 10:02. We are getting very close. The Streamlabs tells me we've been live for 2 hours 50. So we don't want to woo fixing things. Exactly, Alex. Exactly. Don't want this saw blade anymore, so I'm going to take that off, because otherwise I will go to pick up my knife to cut something. In fact, there's several things I could have used it for tonight, and we'll just have issues because of that. And of course, the thing that isn't done is steel. This section for the motor. Because there is at the moment no way I could fit something in there. Well, there might be now, just. To fit something in there to stop the motor wobbling about. Brakes not being broken is a happy thing. It is indeed, James. It is indeed. Where have I put my pen? I've put my pen there. Oh, that's convenient. I don't need the pen. It lines up. Exactly with the top of this bit here. As you can hopefully see. That was lots of metal all joining together. Because I put the motor too near it. So we'll cover this piece in flux. We can't see the half etches from the inside, that's a shame. We want to make sure we get this as close as possible. Block off that bit so we can see better. That should give us exactly what we need there. So I'm just going to hold that with that. Tack it on the outside there. So that's now not going to move on its own. Pull everything off this magnet. And yes, that sits down in there nicely and now has no lift at all. Brilliant. And there we go. That is that. How close is she to being finished, Doc? Good question. I mean, we've got the hard parts of the motorisation done now. and able for a test run. I mean, the next thing to do, really, is to wire up the electrics. So I would imagine we should be able to see her on a test run, turning her wheels for the first time next week. As for being done, well, she might have another week in her after that before she leaves the stream. But it all depends. And she's got a lot of transfer work to do, but I don't have any transfers yet. So now that that's in, let us just put it back in here, haven't I? The motor sits in nicely. Screw goes down and the motor has, it's got a tiny bit of movement in there that we could sort out, but nothing like it was. I am very happy with the results of that. Improved machine Umber. Yes, Alex is right, she will be going in Umber. This is 4 stream, you estimate 2 remaining, within 6 streams total. 6 times 3 hours, been 18 hours work. Not sure whether that includes painting and decals. That should hopefully include at least some of the painting. The decals may well be 3 hours on their own. Honestly, there is a lot of work involved in lining this. I reckon we should probably be at a stage where she's ready. On, you know, the body is basically done. 21 hours in total. Yes, I imagine that's sort of what we're looking at. Because Thunderbolt was 24 hours in total. That is some serious work. Yes, it is. You look at the history of the projects done on the stream, which I really wish I had a list of in front of me. We are very nearly approaching 72 hours worth of streams in total. You know, we've got a brake van, we've got a couple of trucks, we've got the Thunderbolt, we've got this. So that is... Thunderbolt was an inferior kit. Well, yes, it was. It's also a much smaller loco, though. This, of course, had a brass chassis to build. Thunderbolt didn't have a chassis to build. Remember? Thunderbolt's chassis was essentially 2 bits of brass that bolted together, and that was it. So the detail work in this has brought the time out, and also the modifications to the chassis has brought the time out as well. So, yes, it is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding work. I do enjoy doing it, which I think is the main thing here. It might be a lot of work, but it's a lot of enjoyable work. And I believe, let's say 21 hours is probably quite normal for a kit-built locomotive. I certainly know people that have put, 50 to 100 hours into single locomotives before. It does make the idea of commissioning attractive and perhaps building 1 or 2 of my own to have a go too. It would be great if you did build your own. As I say, if you want to commission, I have rates up on the website, oakhillmodelrailway.co.uk. There is a discount if I do it on stream. Just saying. Deary me, yes, indeed. There is a lot of hours put into some locomotives. Honestly, when you know what's involved in doing one of these, it makes the prices they go for on eBay seem exceedingly cheap. Now you see someone put 20 hours worth of work into a locomotive that if I sold it on eBay would go for about £120. Minus the cost of the kit from that as well, you're saying £15. Very hard to make minimum wage at times, unless you're actually taking commissions. But of course, that is it. We have ticked over past midnight. We have 3 hours and 1 minute on the timer on Streamlabs. So, oh yeah, that's probably all it would go for if it went on eBay, James. I have seen them. I have seen finished ones of these kits go for 120 on eBay, with all that work put into them. It's madness. But yes, it has been great. You have all been excellent. Skilled model making is worth, I would estimate, £50 to £100 an hour. Well, I'm definitely undercharging them, James. Yes, working ones, indeed. Just have a look out for these. They don't come up often, but when they do, yes, they're certainly worth the money you could pay for them. So, yes, thank you for coming, everyone. It has been absolutely wonderful. I have had a great time. You have been awesome. Please do remember, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. You are all awesome. I really appreciate you coming. But for now and for this week, that is all. So, good night. And remember, there will be a video on Tuesday and a video on Thursday before next week's stream. Thanks very much and good night.